Let's keep the whole thing in perspective. Please don't make it bigger than it is. Is this the next big narrative as to why the altcoin season could be different than we all expect? Good morning, everyone, and greetings from Kitzbühel. To make sure we have the right clarity, I've positioned myself right in front of the mountains. And today we're going to start with a market update. What has happened in the last 24 hours also with regard to XRP. I also have some crazy news about that. Also, the big question, altcoin season, what is going on? What could it be like? Why is it probably different now? How many people out there are hoping for that? And how should you adapt your strategy? We'll talk about that today, and because many people have asked, I'm also planning a live on Sunday on the topic of Pionex Grid Bot, how to set up bots in general. But Pionex is really leading the way in that area. And that's why today I'm going to show all the impatient ones how you might already be able to start a bot or two. But more on that after the intro. Today's video is brought to you by BingX. And if you want to secure a €25 bonus now, then check the description. Here's the registration link. Let's dive right in. The most important news for today is probably that Jerome Powell hasn't made any negative headlines. On the contrary, he made quite a bullish statement. So at this point, one could also say, maybe he will now be held back a bit by one or another person like Trump or someone else. So we'll have to wait and see. How he continues to act there, isn't that his personal opinion? Clearly, that's just a statement he's making, but still quite exciting. Also, the interest rates have remained unchanged. And you can see that in the market, that was expected. So not much has happened there. Let's move on directly to the XRP chart. So we are definitely in a sideways movement here ever since that strong correction happened, which was the basis for the theft victory. And then again, there's also the corresponding big pump back up. And now it's pretty interesting. The price keeps bouncing along the corresponding lines. By the way, this is very exciting for the trading bot again. That's why I'll show that later using Ripple as an example. However, we have this significant critical area between 0.65 and 0.618. Yeah, and the price doesn't really know what's going on right now, where he wants to go. He's currently bouncing along the line. It's being tested, which is already a positive sign. You can imagine that here, at least, there's a lot of resistance in these areas, has been tested multiple times, even once massively, but then immediately bought back. So basically, it's already a bullish sign, but now the news also has to play a role in the decision. Is it really going to go up now? Because this area here has to be crossed first. If that's the case, then it can really shoot up. But as I said, we first have this zone here. So I would keep an eye on this line for now. And if it goes above that, there could be a retest like we saw here. But then the big question is, will it really continue to go up, or will there be a pullback again? We'll see. Bitcoin is also looking pretty solid there. So when you look at this, we had a smaller consolidation phase here. There was also a breakout from that. Now we've arrived at the next volume area. So theoretically, you could even draw it a bit larger. I would say that here and the corresponding testing has already taken place. First, the rejection. Now you can just wait and see how it will continue, how the development will continue. I would say before we look further at the chart, let's just go to the heat map. And yes, so here you can see above us, there's already some interesting liquidity. So something in the range starting from 105, 600 up to high. Let's take another range, 160, 100, something in that area. But here it's already bright yellow. However, please remain calm. It also looks attractive down here. That could probably also be the reason that many are now over leveraged here in long positions. Yes, this position could theoretically be picked up again soon. What have I been picking up the whole time? What a transition, guys. That's more and more subscribers. It's absolutely crazy what you guys are doing here. It's insane. When I look at the view counts 2 days ago, over 10,000 clicks. Yesterday, also almost 3,500 clicks, and the channel is just near 9,000 subscribers. So if you like this video and you don't want to miss any important information, then feel free to subscribe for free. So feel free to activate the bell so you don't miss any important info. And if you want to give the algorithm a little push so that even more people can benefit from this channel and this added value, feel free to leave a like or write a short comment. That boosts the algorithm. And this way, this channel can continue to grow. And maybe we'll break the 9K mark today. Let's see what happens tomorrow. In any case, in this sense, a warm welcome to all the newcomers. And it's great that you're here too. And we continue. Let's take a look at the overall view of all cryptocurrencies. Yes, it's all green. Some are performing stronger, some are just weaker. We'll get to the altcoin season in just a moment. But let's take a quick look at the Ripple news that's out there. I've pulled something out here as an example. So at this point, if you have any token or coin that you want to mention, hey, Daniel, throw it. Please take a look at that and I'll be happy to do it. However, you are aware that most of the time it's those that have been pumped in some way. What I want to get at now, I was asked about it yesterday or the day before. It was also asked in the comments, XCN. Yeah, what about that? So first of all, if a token has already skyrocketed by almost 40% in a day or within the last 24 hours like that, then I'm already quite cautious. But all right, now let's take a closer look at that. I've pulled the whole thing out. I've never really followed that thing closely myself. I've done a bit of reading on that. That's what it looks like to me in good German, so feel free to correct me if it's different, like a pawn shop. So you can apparently deposit assets in some form there, be it NFTs or something, and then you get liquid funds from that. So that's how I understood it. By the way, I'm neither paid nor anything else by the project. I've just picked that out. Also for the community, I want to create added value accordingly. If you take a look at this now, yeah, it has definitely found its way back quite a bit. In the year 2022, there was a big surge at first, but then it was game over and then the thing really went down. Of course, whether it continues like that, I have no idea. In this area, I would always keep an eye on the news to see what's going on, whether he's still taking so many X's with him, whether it will ever return to its original value. I have no idea, because we must not forget, even at this point, not all tokens are on the market. That means that it's a diluted market cap, definitely. Now we should take a closer look at the details. What was the token distribution like back then? And especially, how many tokens were there at the start that caused a corresponding pump? Because of course, if there were significantly fewer tokens, then it makes sense that the price reacts more easily at first. But then, for example, there was a distribution here. Then it can unfortunately also go in the opposite direction. I once mentioned the example with World, for instance. If you haven't seen the video yet, definitely check it out. Now let's quickly talk about the crypto news, because this is also pretty intense. Czechia has announced that it might invest in Bitcoin reserves. That means it's the first country in Europe that feels drawn to something like this. And one can say at this point that this does not happen. It's not just someone in an interview, but we're talking about the head of the Czech National Bank. So the guy should definitely know what he's talking about. Yes, it's obviously just a conversation for now, and we need to make a decision on the whole thing, and so on. Of course, it's just that in politics, things don't work that simply. However, when we talk about reserves, we're talking about an amount of around 140 billion euros. So you can compare it against the current status, about how much Bitcoin we're talking about. So that's pretty bullish. What's currently being discussed regarding reserves, considered pushed around. Wow. So let's be surprised. Let's move straight on to XRP. There are also some bullish news there, including that the decentralized exchange of the XRP Ledger has now surpassed $1 billion in trading volume. Brad Garlinghouse himself shared that on X. And as you can nicely gather from here, that's a sign of it. For increasing acceptance and usage. And that's exactly what's important about it. Many people always say, yeah, would there really be this application of XRP from Ripple and so on. Yes, Ripple, yes. But of course, if this ledger is being used, then XRP logically participates in it as well, because the trading volume doesn't just come out of nowhere. Still the burning issue in the crypto space, this current battle between Ripple and the Bitcoin community. What's really behind that? So it's also written here in the text. I don't want to say it too much anymore. I explained it in the video yesterday as well. By the way, if you haven't seen the video yet, feel free to click in here. In any case, this whole topic is also being discussed. Brad Garlinghouse, he apparently, when the meeting with Trump discussed that XRP should be included in these reserves. Now, I find it very interesting because especially with XRP, there are many supporters who say nothing else, I'm completely on the maxi side. Now, this is also happening on the Bitcoin side. And on Bitcoin pages, there was some hate as if, yeah, how can he, and it should only be Bitcoin reserves and so on. Let's not make this whole thing bigger than it is, please. Because in the end, it's a cosmos, it's a big crypto family. Guys, then maybe we shouldn't tear each other apart here. So now tearing each other apart, at least that's my opinion. Feel free to write in the comments if you have a different opinion. But guys, go down there, enjoy the time. It's a great time. A lot is happening out there. Why do we have to tear each other apart somewhere now? And then there was another topic that I recently shared on X. By the way, if you want to stay up to date and not miss any important news, then definitely check the description. Here's the link to Uptrend on X, so feel free to follow me there. The cooperation with Ondo Finance and Ondo Finance. Now, things really got wild when Larry Finance gave his speech. From the SEC side, they said that tokenization needs to be pushed forward, yeah. And now we suddenly see this. A partnership like Ripple is also not moving slowly because Ondo has also gained a lot of visibility from this. The big question, tokenization, is this the next big narrative, or are there perhaps parallel narratives? I'll get back to the altcoin sector in a moment, and when this altcoin season could start and why the altcoin season could be quite different, as we all expect. But in the end, it's also about the launch of his fund for short-term US Treasury bonds on the XRP Ledger. So this announcement could definitely move a lot in the future. Now, a quick update on what I talked about yesterday. The SEC has removed this Ripple lawsuit from the website. What's really behind that? In the comments yesterday, there was already some talk about it. Yeah, somehow it got postponed or whatever. In the end, so I'll just move on here. Feel free to read the article at your leisure. In the end, you just say, okay, so that could definitely be a positive sign. I also estimate that something was removed from the SEC website, but there isn't really a proper statement yet. At least I haven't found anything about it, that this legal dispute is really settled now and this lawsuit is finally over. So you can definitely notice it. XRP hasn't reacted extremely bullish to that either, which I think is a good thing, because if it suddenly appeared again, then there would be a pump. And so you just wait calmly for now. The pump is also pre-programmed. And so you just wait calmly for now. And before we get to the Pionex Grid Bot, let's quickly touch on the topic of altcoin season. What many shouldn't forget. As of now, we currently have approximately 37 million tokens in total. By the way, most of them are running on Solana. So I would also claim, as it says here, that most of them are meme coins. They just disappear from the market with pump and dump. Now, it's a completely different volume, like what we had in the past during the last bull run. And that's the big question in the room, something I can never imagine. Among the 37 million, there's definitely a lot of bullshit in there. Absolutely. However, I just can't imagine that they would all suddenly skyrocket during an altcoin season. If you have a different opinion, feel free to write to me in the comments. We still have to wait and see what's happening now in terms of Ethereum. But before I give you the news, let me share my thoughts on it. I can definitely imagine that, as it is currently, that we have a long sideways movement and that we keep having narratives in between that can also quickly pump before the Bitcoin top, for example, and then maybe disappear again, just like it was in the AI sector. No, I don't want to say at this point that AI is dead. I also bought more AI myself. And you can also see what's happening there. The USA is doing what China is doing, theft victory. But this topic of tokenization, maybe that's going to become stronger now. But then the question is, will it go back again? So unlikely, because once tokenization is implemented on such a large scale, then it could actually stick around. So we'll have to wait and see. My appeal here is to always realize your profits. If you notice that a token you hold is significantly up, let's say at 80% UP, 50% UP, 100% UP, everyone can decide that for themselves. Then at least pull out your initial investment so you can keep diversifying, because that's the mistake most people make. And that's why so many people lose so much money in the crypto space. Most people lose money there. It's not the case that the bull run makes everyone rich. Please be smart. Don't be the person who makes that exact mistake. But now let's move on to Ethereum. This could definitely get interesting, because if you take a historical look, February wasn't exactly the worst month. And I've already mentioned it in previous videos. Bitcoin also had a very strong February. It really depends on that, how Bitcoin effectively closes out in January. But that's why Ethereum could, in February, it could get quite bullish. And just take a look at what happened last year. So you can't deny everything. But this is now my further appeal to you. Many have tasted it now and said, yeah, here, World Liberty Finance, what are they buying? Then I'll just buy that on top. Basically, you can say, yes, something is happening there. Because if you take a look straight to the inauguration of Donald Trump, and shortly before that, just take a look at what happened with the portfolio and what was bought. So it's pretty crazy. Of course, Trump and his family are rich. Now, the big question is, they have about 400 million in there buying. Did they seriously plan to burn things now? If you don't have any bigger plans for it, just take a look at what they hold in Ethereum. Hey, that's 200 million. Now, the big question is, if they really didn't believe in it, so why are they buying so much then? Well, I don't really know, but we'll just have to wait and see. You could see it with the move as well. They immediately talked about insider trading and so on. Don't rely on that too much. It's kind of like, in a way, a roadmap or a guide here. Everyone is now jumping right into the tokens that this project holds. Please don't rely on that blindly, and be aware that you're probably not the first among millions of people who see this and will then cause a proper price pump. So maybe then, if you want, wait for another correction or something. Personally, I don't think much of it, because I'm more into the small cap area. And that's it for now regarding the news. Now to the Pionex Grid Bot. If you already use it, if you don't feel like it, or if you use it and know how to set it up correctly, so you don't get over leveraged and get shot out somewhere, then you can turn it off. Everyone else who's interested, stay tuned, because we're going to set up a part together now. And as I said on Sunday, am I also planning to do a live session for that you can also ask your questions. But if you want to tinker around and try things out a bit, I don't want to hold that back from you. And I'll give you the info on that. It would be cool if you used my link in return. It's down in the description. To speak quite openly and transparently, I get a part of the fees. So I also have a bit of that. You support this channel in its growth, and hopefully you take away a lot of value from it. Basically, as I said, once you've signed up, you'll come out here, and I will probably post a deal or two as well. So feel free to check out my Telegram group. Also, the link in the description. Now you go to futures, then to futures grid. And what I find very exciting here is already the number is continuously increasing. So 2 days ago, it was around 136,000 people. And now we're really close to 140,000. Really wild. The most used bot. I think it's great because you can set it up accordingly. Now you can see XRP on the side here. So why does XRP make sense right now? You could also take Ethereum, for example, or other tokens. You need a certain level of volatility because you're setting up what's called grids. This means whenever a grid is exceeded, undercut, etc., If it goes below, it buys in, and if it goes above, then it sells again. And if you do this with the right leverage, that's all this bot does, then it works. Now it's just important to understand, if you, for example, start here at the top, and here you set a leverage of, let's say, 20, and here there's a corresponding pullback, you can always calculate that, so you can easily measure it here as well. I would say right here. It's a relatively large support zone, so you can see that was after the last increase. We've been wandering around quite a bit, and now one should definitely think about safety. Okay, in this area, it could definitely, I don't want to say it, but it could also go back. And that's why it would be quite clever to say, okay, I'm not going to set the leverage so high that I get liquidated here. That would be stupid. Now let's go down here and take a look at the average. Okay, so here we are, for example, at about 25%. I find it quite difficult to imagine now that the price drops that much, but let's wait for some kind of DeepSeek moment to come. However, you could also take that as a guideline here. That would be right here. That was almost 13%. So that was kind of a half black swan event. So let's say about 13%, but whether it's 13 or 25%, as I said, everyone goes in with their own risk and can choose the leverage accordingly. But either way, with a 10x leverage, you would have been liquidated. So, I mean, that's a fact. So you just go in here and then you can choose for now. Long, short, or neutral, you can set that accordingly. Price range, number of grids, etc. I always go here to copy the strategy. I'm just going to use the 10x leverage as an example. So that doesn't mean you should just copy it. You see a percentage here. You go to copy bot, and it's very important to click on adjust here, because now you see the range where the bot is operating, and I would definitely let the bot run within that range. Down to here roughly where I say, okay, then it also nicely takes the volatility with it. So that means we go in here and say, okay, so 2000, let's say almost 2480 vereits. Now, just as an example, 2001, 24.1, and on the other side, upwards. All right, we can think about that now. Well, there's not much above that now. Now, let's see where it was before. Let me just leave it like that for now. So, you can also adjust the upper range accordingly. I would go a bit higher here. That's 3,300. Let's do that. 3,700, just as an example. So, and then you see, okay, the bot is working in this range. Now, it's important to understand, and you see down here how much profit is coming in now out. Because on one hand, you have fees, and on the other hand, of course, buying and selling. Sure, at some point, the range will be too large. I personally wouldn't do 90. There should be a bit of movement, though. Absolutely clear. Now let's see what happens if let's take 70. Okay, now we're at that level, for example, where you can say, okay, it's running quite solidly there. Of course, everyone can decide that for themselves, but I'm always focusing on around 0.5% roughly. And then you see it buys, it sells, etc. You can also measure this theoretically with a ruler here and see, okay, what price fluctuations are then bought and sold accordingly. Good. Then it's important. Automatic reserve, I always do that. So that means before you get into a liquidation zone, that's important. You also get an email if that should happen. Then you can also set it up so that capital is added so that this trade continues, even though you would theoretically already be in the liquidation zone. So that statement from earlier isn't quite right. If you had set it up accordingly, you wouldn't have been kicked out at 10x. But as I said here with the 10x leverage, that would normally have been the end of the workday. That's why I always set that up. Can you turn it on or off? There are several options. And then you just enter the investment volume. And that's it. Go down and click create. And that was effective as well. Everything. So much for the explanation about the bot. And now I can only give you this tip. On one hand, if you want to wait for Sunday when we do it live. Otherwise, just try it out and don't overdo it. With the leverage, I hope this video has brought you a bit more clarity in the wild crypto jungle. But hey, we're in the mountains with the clearest view. Yeah, it might be lean, but they'll get better. I know. No, just kidding. If you liked it, feel free to leave a comment down below. Feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. Let this channel grow and ideally break the 9K mark today. In conclusion, I can only give you this tip. Also, feel free to check out this video. There, I talk in detail about Trump's plans, what he plans, what motivates him. If we know what motivates him, then we also know how we can profit from it. So everything has been said. We'll see each other tomorrow in the next video. Until then, the best. Bye.